watching European Digital Day, and it's great to have you with us. Did you know that 65% of primary school-aged children entering education today will actually end up working in jobs that don't even exist yet? It's incredible to think about. But the World Economic Forum in a recent report has warned that if we're not ready for this change, then we could miss out on the opportunities it will afford. So how can Europe stay ahead of the curve? Well, for this next panel discussion, I'm thrilled to welcome a top-level panel, and we have Prime Minister Ana Brnabić from the Republic of Serbia. Prime Minister, it's great to have you with us. We have Mark Valder, who is the founder of Digital Switzerland and the CEO of Renje, and Clemens Himpele is the Chief Information Officer for the city of Vienna, whose aim it is to make Vienna the digitalization capital of Europe. It's wonderful to have you all with us today. Prime Minister Brnabić, what is Serbia doing then to prepare for this future generation?
Well, firstly, thank you so much for the invitation. It's wonderful to participate again in the Digital Day in Switzerland. We have actually, when I put digitization as the primary focus of my government in order to prepare especially our youth for the future, but also to make Serbia's economy more competitive, we have actually learned so much from Switzerland and Mark. And when we established an organization called the Digital Serbia Initiative, the first meeting was held in Zurich. So, you know, we are closely cooperating with Switzerland, and I'd like to thank you for everything that you have done to support us. From then on, we have, I think, moved at extraordinary speed. And our focus was on the reform in the education sector to enable that our youth is more competitive, much more competitive than they are today, and that they really are the foundation stone for our future development. So back in 2017, we have introduced coding and programming as mandatory subject in primary school. So today, kids, when they're 10 years old, they start learning coding in their primary school. And this year, we have marked the first generation of primary school kids leaving school with the full knowledge of coding, such as, you know, program languages such as Scratch and Python. We have also increased the number of specialized IT classes in our secondary schools. We have increased the capacity of our technical faculties, and thanks to all of these things, you know, our IT industry is growing at an incredible rate of 20 to 25% year on year. And just finally to mention, you know, two another important things that we have done. We have introduced completely new subject called Digital World, which kids start learning when they enroll to primary school, which is when they're 6 or 7 years old, to really understand the world around them, but also to understand the challenges, the security concerns, and all of that. And as of this school year, this academic year, which started 1st of September, we have introduced basics of AI into primary schools. So we are really trying to focus perhaps all of our efforts onto the education.
Thank you very much. Mark, you founded Digital Switzerland, some 7 years ago. How is Switzerland positioned when you hear what Prime Minister Brnabić has had to say, and how well prepared are we for the future?
First of all, what Prime Minister Brnabić just outlined is truly remarkable. The speed and the commitment the government in Serbia has towards digital transformation, I think, is a role model for any country I see. Secondly, I think it's fundamentally, and then I come to Switzerland, fundamentally important to start at the very beginning, and the very beginning means our children. It is hugely important what our children learn at school around digital topics. Now, you might argue it is not so important if they really learn how to code. I do believe, yes, it is, but there is a big debate going on. But if I compare the schedule my daughter has, who is 13 years old, to my schedule at school, so this was 40 years ago, 4 decades ago, it's almost the same. As we see, more than 60% of the jobs will be jobs that do not exist today. So you have to do exactly what Prime Minister Brnabić forced in Serbia, to really start at the very, bottom with the kids in school. And this is truly remarkable. I am afraid Switzerland is being too slow in terms of transforming education. Now, as somebody who leads quite a large enterprise with roughly 8,000 employees here in Switzerland in the media industry, which has been totally transformed, you might even say disrupted, you see that speed is crucial.
So Mark, who should be driving it forward then?
Well, on different levels, I think, first of all, we have a very federalistic system here, canton by canton in Switzerland, that makes things usually slow, unfortunately. So this has to be a top-down decision where you say those 26 different cantons have to create kind of a common sense that kids need to adapt faster with digital skills. What exactly that is, let's discuss, but definitely we are too slow with kids. I would even say in a playful way, kindergarten, kids like to play around with robots and computers. That is something different than just hanging in front of your iPhone and doing Snapchat all day. That's not what I talk about. It's understanding what basically digitization is. And by the way, the next big topic is coming up. It's called metaverse. And I think kids should understand what this means, how they can use, what's behind the screen, etc. Because, and this is fundamentally important, if kids would be more sensitive to new jobs, to new skills, they would have different interests than they have at the moment. At the moment, they do try to learn and imitate jobs that are already existing. I think we should bring them into new ideas, a new sensitivity towards digital tools. That is hugely important. And we see, by the way, in the Central Eastern European countries, that there's a lot of skill potential there. I think the question there, Anna, will be, is there going to be a brain drain? Are people leaving Poland and Serbia in order to go to, let's say, other countries? Or are these countries able to keep the strong tech and tech business people within their country?
Thank you, Mark. I think we'll develop some of the challenges and how we can address them in just a moment. But Clemens, let me bring you in on this. You've heard that speed is of the essence, of course. You've heard about the success stories. Where is Austria in all of this?
Well, thank you for the invitation, and I can just repeat what Mark already said. It's quite impressive what Ms. Brnabić told us about Serbia. What we have now, but we are not the first mover in this topic, is the infrastructures at the schools, which means the wireless LAN and the computers. But this is crucial because if you don't have the infrastructure, everything else will not work. Let me add maybe 2 topics to the discussion. I mean, the question is, what tasks will be done in the future for the jobs, and how will we organize our all day and labor life? Because I think it's very important to understand that the technological progress is the basis of our wealth, and the technological progress is not neutral. We have to design it. We have to decide in which way we want to live, what is the kind we will earn our money in the future. And this debate is just starting right now. So that means that you, of course, need the technological skills, which was mentioned before. And Austria has to do a lot in this topic because we are not the first movers. But the second thing is you need a broader understanding what happens with the new media. For example, Mark mentioned the new media. We are talking about the filter bubbles. We are talking about artificial intelligence. What does it mean if an algorithm has decided that you, I don't know, don't get the money, don't get the job, don't get whatever? What does it mean in our all-day life? And I think this is the broader context the youth have to learn, and they will learn it much quicker than we did. I hope so.
Clemens, if I can just ask you to maybe paint a bit more of a picture for our audience. When we talk about jobs of the future, and obviously we don't know what they are, what do you imagine them to be?
Well, I mean, some things are quite sure that we need more skills in technological topics. I think we know that very well. What we don't know yet exactly is how the future will be organized. There is this familiar note from John Maynard Keynes, an economist 100 years past, and he said that there will be no economic problem in the year 2030, 100 years later, due to the progress in industry and the technological progress. And the question is how we organize that. If it really means that we have much more wealth in the future because of the new technologies, then the question will be, what is paid work, what is not paid work? And the differences are quite big now. And to understand this, I mean, what is the problem with digitization? It's the technology, but that's just one topic. The second one is the organization in the departments and in the companies. And this, I think, is often a huge problem. We have then the technology in itself. And this is, I think that you have to understand, we have a lot of persons, they can code and program new platforms, whatever they need. But if you want to introduce this in a city department, for example, you need persons there to understand why we need to change the organization of that department. And these persons have to understand the technological progress in one hand, but much more important is the organizational topics they have to understand, because otherwise we will not profit from digitalization.
Thank you very much. Prime Minister Brnovich, you talk about the education and starting young, and everybody is obviously admiring hugely the achievements you've made. How concerned are you about the brain drain? How worried are you that people educated in Serbia will then leave with these skills?
I have to say that I was initially, when I became the prime minister, or when I joined the government, and I first joined the government in 2016 as the Minister of Public Administration and Local Government. At the time, my focus was on reforming the public administration in order to fully introduce 100% e-government, in order to make it more transparent, more efficient, and to make it available to citizens and businesses 24/7, 365 days a year. So I've started doing this as a Minister of Public Administration. Today, we have a very different public administration. Whatever could be done paperless is paperless. We have started introducing e-government as of 1st of June 2017. And today, to date, we have saved 230 million papers. So when you think about all of the saved paper, the trees, the electricity, the water to produce that paper, you can also say that today, because green agenda is on one of the top priorities for all of us, e-government should also be viewed, and I direct this especially towards the EU and Brussels administration. It should be viewed as part of the green transition as well. Remind me now the question.
I was just asking how you tackle the brain drain.
I was initially very worried about the brain drain. I'm not so worried anymore, because we have managed, by providing a clear signal that as the government, this is what we see as the future of Serbia, providing also a clear signal that this is what we are going to invest in the future, providing more funds to start up innovation companies, investing into infrastructure such as science and technology parks across Serbia, investing into new research institutes, and the latest research institute that we have established is the AI Institute. We have actually managed to reverse the brain drain in this field. So we have now more people coming back to Serbia to relocate, open their startup companies, or work for some of the increasing number of research and development centers that are being opened in Serbia by foreign companies. Then we have people leaving, for example, for education to go abroad. So I feel actually very confident today that if we continue this way, And we already have some head advantage. If we continue to be as brave as we have been to date, that we will manage to actually bring more people, young foreigners, to Serbia to live and work from here.
Well, does this concern you then, Clemens? Because Austria really benefits from these talented, skilled people coming to Austria currently. Does that worry you in the future?
Well, no, we have to do our homework. The same Serbia has to do, and that's fine. We have a lot of persons from Eastern Europe, of course, especially in Vienna. You know, Vienna is often named as one of the most livable cities in the world. We have to transfer this also in the digital sphere. Yeah? When Anna mentioned just before the e-government, what does it mean to be the most livable city in the world from a perspective of a city administration? This means that we make it as easy as possible for our inhabitants to organize their all-day life in terms of kindergarten, of public transportation, of parks, and so on. And the same has to be done with the e-government topic. We need to make it possible for our inhabitants to make it as easy as possible to have their contacts with the public authorities. And that's what Anna just mentioned. And of course, I think Serbia did a lot in the past years, and that's very good, because in the end, we all live at the European continent, and it's quite better. We have a good economic development here than we don't. So I'm not afraid that we will lose a lot of inhabitants. In the past 10 to 15 years, Vienna grew a lot. We have almost 2 million inhabitants right now. So there isn't enough children and young people in the city, but of course we have to educate them and we have to bring them to the new technologies.
Mark, where could Europe improve the most then going forward?
Europe has to improve on all levels. I think it's quite clear that we have to start with the kids first. Second, students, universities, of course, they have to be very attractive to talents. They have to offer the right studies. Next one is, of course, the big corporates. Corporates need to survive. You know, we have seen many corporates, large institutions disappear because they haven't done or weren't able to do the digital transformation, especially in the media sector, but other sectors as well. Think of the retail sector, travel sector, etc. Then we need, of course, the startup ecosystem to be very vibrant, to be very attractive. I think, by the way, to Prime Minister Brnabić, yes, I would agree. Attractive cities, and Belgrade, for example, is an attractive city. It's a fun city to be in, are attractive for talents, and talents go where it's fun to live. So if you give them a great framework in order to create startups, etc., they will be there. We have seen that in many other places as well. Then, of course, the administration. Then, of course, the infrastructure of a country. I give you, it sounds like a joke, but so we're sitting here in Zurich. Whenever I had video conferences with our companies in Africa, they had more stable connections than when I did video conferences with Germany. So think about infrastructure and think about the problem of Germany. Nothing new, and I don't want to criticize Germany or be sarcastic, not at all. But this gives you kind of, in terms of infrastructure, an interesting picture that might surprise. So again, I think on all levels, Europe has to really, if this would be a soccer match between the US, China, and Europe, if these three teams would be playing, I know usually there's two teams playing against each other, but we have lost the first half. We're sitting in the locker room, getting out to the stadium again, and we have the second half, and we have to pick up speed.
I think that was a great analogy. You know, it is a game of two halves, so there's still plenty to play for. But you did hit on a really important topic, Mark, and that is technology. Do you, Clemens and Prime Minister Brnabić, do you think that the technology is there to get us started on, the world tomorrow?
You can go first.
Please.
The technology is there. I mean, of course, a lot of the companies are US based or based in China. But I want to add something to what Mark said. we have a special way of living within Europe. And we need a framework. We need to create a framework that we can live the way we want to live in Europe. And that's up, in the case of Austria, up to the European Parliament, which is not so important to Switzerland and Serbia. But if we live together, I mean, we have a lot of inhabitants, we have a lot of capital within the European continent, and we have a lot of talents. That is not our problem. Of course, in the past, there was this American way of moving fast and breaking things. And this, I think, changed now because we need a more sustainable way of technology, and we need technology to help us to save greenfield gases and so on. And this, I think, might be a European way. We had the data protection guidelines. I'm not totally happy with it, but I'm happy with the idea that there might be a European framework and not a German one, an Austrian one, a Swiss one, a Serbian one, because that's the only way we can create a single market that really is vivid enough to have the power to say, okay, that's the way we want to live with technology, and that's the way we don't. Because I think we agree that the Chinese way and the way of the US Americans might be slightly different to the European way.
Absolutely. Prime Minister Brnovich, a final word?
I would tend to agree. I think the technology is here. I think that Europe has a lot to offer in terms of, as Mark said, in terms of the quality of life. I think there is just so much that there is an advantage in Europe. I think that, yes, I think that we need to rethink the strategy. I think that if we think about the future, immediate future, it's going to be, I think, completely in AI and perhaps probably in biotech and biomed. And for both of these, I think Europe is not equipped to be competitive with the US or with China. It has a very, very strict legislation, which on one hand is very good because it protects its citizens. But on the other hand, it stifles it just not going to provide a room to grow for startups and innovation. So I think we need to rethink the strategy in order to stay competitive and at least, when in some of the aspects of this game, it's a huge challenge, but I think it can be done. But we need to, I would even say Europe needs to wake up and understand that if we lose this competitiveness, we will have to pay this. We'll have to pay a high price for it.
Hannah, do I get 60
absolutely.
seconds?
Of course you can.
The Digital Day has been founded for a clear reason. And the reason was, we do a lot for startups, we do a lot for education, maybe not enough, et cetera, et cetera. Administrations are working on it, but we want to reach out to the citizen. We want to reach out with the Digital Day to the fathers and mothers and the teachers, even the grandfathers. We want to reach basically into the kindergartens and the schools and to the normal, so-called normal people. That is extremely important. That's why we founded the Digital Day, besides the other programs that we are running. I'm really happy. And Prime Minister Brnovich said Europe needs to wake up. Europe is waking up, to finish this on a positive note. We do have 7 or 8 countries joining now, including the city of Vienna, joining the idea to bring out digitization in a positive way, not in a naive way. There is challenges, but in a positive way to the normal citizen. And that is huge. So from being a Digital Day in Switzerland, a small country, wealthy country, to a pan-national European digital kind of vision, I think is perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you very much indeed for those positive words to end with, Mark Walder. Thank you, Clemens Himpele. Thank you very much. And also our thanks indeed to Prime Minister Ana Brnabić from the Republic of Serbia.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody. Bye-bye.